I'm going to spend 4 days in Night City on a vacation. That means going to the beach, taking in the atmosphere, even checking out some cool monuments. Basically everything a normal vacation entails. There's only one problem though. Night City is not known for its vacationing abilities. It's a rough and dangerous city. It's known for its terrible cleanliness and its lack of safety. So am I able to have a nice vacation here? Follow my adventure to find out if it's possible. I'm starting my journey in my apartment, of course eager to get going. After a quick shower to start the day, I headed down the elevator to finally see the city. I was now already in the heart of Night City. I was ready to get going. My trip first had me heading to the NCART, the Night City public transportation system. This was going to be my primary mode of transportation for this vacation. It was a great way to get a first view of the city. Today I would be getting off at Corpo Plaza to explore the Memorial Park. The main attractions I wanted to see here were the awesome holographic fish and of course Arasaka Tower. This area really surprised me. It was super clean and a very nice park. This was setting the bar high on the first day. It was time to keep exploring the area though, which I quickly stumbled on another park. I was blown away by how much greenery there was straight in the city center. I was getting hungry though, so it was time to look for an option. This place was absolutely pristine on the inside and looked super nice. I ordered some quick food and I called it good. Right down in the same area was another place to check out. This was more of a bar. I sat down to have a quick drink. This was a great start to the trip. What I had heard about the city was so far not true, but time would only tell. Surely I'd come across some bad places, right? Walking into the park now was a little bit worse. I started to see some trash, definitely not where it should have been. It was still nice to have a great green space in the city though. All around me were these awesome street vendors and fun people to meet. I found another cool section of the park, which had a bridge overlooking the water. I couldn't believe the massive city I was now in. As I moved on though, sadly for a lot of people, things were not going as well in the city as they were for me so far. This was a harsh reality check, and it was much needed. Because now, of course, I was going luxury shopping. That's right, it was time to look at some of the finest outfits that Night City had to offer. Nothing called my name though, so I left. So far, everything was great. I continued to walk around the city, and stumbled across what looked like a crime scene. This girl looked dead. All of a sudden, these guys pulled their guns on me. I had to run away. My first dangerous encounter in Night City. Thankfully, I was out of there safe. This perfectly led me into my next shopping area, and thankfully it looked like they were not chasing after me. I'm always ready though. Now that I was already in here though, I decided to check out some of the outfits. This store honestly looked even nicer, even more luxurious than the last. This time I tried on a couple of outfits. Still none my style, so I left. I headed back to the metro station, but it was police barricaded, but I wasn't gonna mess around with this, so I decided to look for a different one. Once again seeing a lot of people struggle, unfortunately. I was lucky to be here on a vacation though. I took the train back to my apartment place. I wasn't heading back for the whole night though, just a quick nap to get me ready for the nighttime. Tonight, I was gonna check out a couple of the local bars, and the city at night was super cool. Of course that meant I was bound to see something crazy. This looked like a multi-death crash. Before the bars, I was hungry though, so I headed to some guy's stand and got some food. After that, I saw a guy jamming on his guitar, had to listen for a bit. This part of town looked sick in the dark. I was now truly in Night City. I saw the crazy advertisements in the sky, then finally made it to my first bar, Lizzie's. This place had a crazy vibe. The first step in felt insane. This place was a booming club. Of course, since I came in here, I had to stop at the bar. I had a nice drink, and then headed out. It was time for the next bar, the Afterlife. This one had a bouncer out front, but I was let in. I honestly liked the vibe of this bar better, so of course I had to sit down for a drink. I walked back outside and noticed this tourist information thing. I got some good info for my days coming up. After that, I was getting tired though, so I headed back to my apartment complex and headed to bed. I woke up the next morning excited for the day as I had something cool planned. I immediately got heading to the metro station where I took myself to Pacifica. It was now time for my beach day. So far everything was looking nice, so I had high hopes for the water. It wasn't long though until the rougher side started to show itself, but I kept my hopes high as I made my way to the beach. I noticed a giant roller coaster in the distance, along with a Ferris wheel. Both looked abandoned. As I made my way closer, things started to get rough. The Imperial Mall was also completely abandoned. This whole area had a weird feeling to it. I had finally made it to the beach area, and from this angle, it looked not too bad. In the distance though, I noticed some commotion. Yeah, I was gonna stay clear from here. It wasn't until I got further onto the beach that I noticed all of the trash. This place was terrible. I was still gonna make the most of it. I already had made it all the way here anyways. It was time for a swim. Honestly, this water was probably super gross, but I didn't care. I took my first plunge into the water. It was fairly clear and very warm. A short swim was enough though. I was not trying to end my vacation early, dying from some sketchy water. That was enough of the beach for now, so I decided to leave. I headed back up to the town area because I wanted to explore around. This place was pretty compact back here. Of course I had to grab some food and then check out some of the stalls. This little settlement was pretty lively over here. I just wished the beach was a little bit nicer. By now the sunset was looking crazy. It was worth it to stay here. Pacifica was decent for a vacation, not the best though. In the terms of Night City, this was going to be the best beach you'd find. That being said, I headed back down to the metro, where I headed back to my apartment and once again headed to bed. It was now day 3 of the vacation, and the weather looked great outside. I had a good plan for today. Like usual, I headed to the metro and headed to my next location. Today's spot was gonna be good. I heard great things about this next place, which was indeed Japantown. Just by looking at the streets here, I could tell how nice this place was gonna be. So far the cleanest place I had been to. It almost felt like a completely different city. Of course I was gonna have to look for something to eat here, which is exactly what I did next. Now I was gonna explore. And well, the first thing I saw was a crime scene, of course. Next I found a street market, which looked really cool. So of course I had to check out some of the stalls. I still never ended up buying anything though. I always just like to look around instead. I left the market and ended up seeing this super cool monument. The statue was massive. It was crazy that you could find something like this in this city. Next, it was time for the infamous Jig Jig Street. And it's safe to say I'd just be looking briefly here. This place is not what I was looking for. Of course it provided the full Japantown experience though. I thought this store was funny named PP. Next, I decided to look for some food in here, which ended up being pretty good. Then I left the area because I had a super cool plan, and that involved leaving the city area. Unfortunately, there was no better way to get to this place besides walk, but this started to show me a cool view of the city. And from here I could barely see where I was heading to. After navigating my way through the sketchy highways, my destination was finally in sight. I was at the Shinto shrine. This was the perfect spot for a tourist like me. An awesome temple to check out just outside of the city lines. This place was very cool to see and check out in person. I even found a gift shop with some cool items. I wasn't quite sure what these guys were for, and after taking it all in, it was time to leave. The shrine was 100% worth checking out though. I had now made it back into Japantown, and next I wanted to check out by the water. This was a pretty cool view of the city down here. So far, honestly, my vacation was going very well. I got a quick bite to eat again, then I went to find some arcade games. While I was doing that, I noticed a sea of trash. This was crazy. I was ready to play some games though. First up was Trauma Drama. I basically just spammed my way through these levels. This first one was pretty fun. I wanted to find another one though, and that was Roach Race. This one was honestly very fun, except I kept failing. There was something about these classic games in a futuristic world that really grounded me back to reality. I found one more game I wanted to try, and this was a racing one. After that though, to get prepared for tomorrow's plans, I headed to a car rental place where I could get something. With that out of the way, I was ready for tomorrow as I took in the night view of the city and I headed back on the metro. That was a very solid day in Japantown. The next morning I woke up excited because I had even more big plans for my final day. I headed down to pick up my rental car that I ordered yesterday. It was time to leave the city. That's right, today's plan was to leave Night City and explore the outskirts. But first, I had to get there, which took a bit of driving to finally get out. I was now in the far outskirts of the city, heading to my first destination of the day, the solar farms. From above, these things looked crazy. It was just an endless sea of solar panels. Definitely worth checking out. I then left to head to my next destination. It was time for a super windy switchback road, which led me up higher because I wanted to get a good view of the city from above. And this lookout was the perfect place to do so. I took in the city skyline view and just felt happy the vacation was going so well so far. I even got to look through this tower viewer at the city below me. That was enough though, and I got back on the road. While I was driving over this bridge, I looked to my side. I just had to pull over. I could not believe how gross this was. What once was probably some fresh water was now pure garbage. Hopefully I was not drinking that. Once again over another bridge, I couldn't believe my eyes. Outside of the city, they just dumped trash everywhere. To forget about that, I was finally at my next location, where I was at the Sunset Motel. I was here of course because they had a bar. I liked the vibe of this one as I walked in, finally getting away from the big city after being there for a while. I sat down at the bar for a drink and ordered one up. I was actually so glad to be away from the city for now. I just needed a moment like this to chill. One drink was good though, so I headed out. It was time to head to one last destination out here, which was the trailer park. You know, I had to check every place out. Of course I had to come here, because they actually had some food to eat too, and it was pretty good. There were also some shops that I checked out, but that was it for my quick stop here. I peeled out of here and started heading back into the city. I had to return my rental car soon, and it was my final day, so I didn't want to be out too late. The sunset looked amazing as I furthered my way in, and as I finally started getting closer, it was now dark. I started driving a little reckless though to get back faster, and I must have made somebody angry, because now all of a sudden I was being ambushed by guns. I crashed my car, being shot from multiple angles. I thought it was over. I had to drive away. They kept on me no matter what though. This was now a life or death situation. My car was about to explode. I had to flee. I was completely defenseless though. My vacation was over. Well, that certainly wasn't the ending I was looking for. What was such a good trip at one point ended in death. That's the perfect metaphor for Night City though. No matter how safe you feel, danger is right around the corner. Clearly a vacation is only possible here with extreme caution. From going to the beach, to exploring the city and the outskirts, I did it all though. At least I was able to experience it once.